Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for remaining with us. You're watching Smart 24, and this is Financial Markets, where we drive your business. And my name is Anthony. So we're looking at the Nairobi Stock Exchange on the market yesterday as it played out. The Nairobi Stock Exchange definitely is the buzz that is the principal exchange in East Africa. We trade across different platforms, with online platforms, and with one of the most, technologically advanced markets in Africa. And looking at their performance here, the index of Nairobi Stock Exchange, we see that they were led by Stanley Fahari, who is one of the trading stocks there on the market. Their index went up thereby by 3.69 points but that's about 2.73% of the index there in Nairobi. Fahari led the gainers by 10%, gaining to a price of 6.6 Kenyan on the market yesterday. Now, the Nairobi Stock Exchange has four main market investment categories, including the main investment category, and then the alternate investment category, as well as the fixed income and the growth enterprise market segment. And here we're looking at basically the main market segment and the alternate segment of the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And definitely down to the companies that actually made some movement on the market. In aggregate, we had over 45 Nairobi Stock Exchange companies that, of course, traded on the market. And they definitely had a couple of things to do with, investments. And, they give us a little picture of what it looks like here. And then we had Fahari, who is also best on the market yesterday. And now looking at the exchange, looking at the Nairobi Stock Exchange All-Share Index, and your very fast index to track the performance of the, this counter here. We're looking at Fahari, who came out on the top at 6.6, then FTH, GH, then we also had ABSA and Safaricom, who came back on the market with a very strong, gain of 1.06%. And that is to a price of 28.5 Ugandan shillings. Then on the losing side, we had National Media Group at 18 shillings and a 6.98% drop. And then HFCK at 3.5, 6.17% drop. Then Everready company also came out at 5.56% and a 0.68 Kenyan shillings price. Then HAFR came out at 0.4 Kenyan shillings and a 2.44% decline. And the Kenya Cooperative Bank at 1.74% loss and 11.3 Kenyan shillings. That was one of the performances of the the stock markets here on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. The All-Share Index went up by about a couple of points, and that's about 2.3 points on the index. And we are seeing that Fahari came out at the top with a 0.6 points going up and a 6 points. You got Kenyan shillings, and that was about a 10% increase on the markets. But we are seeing that the graph of Fahari and Stanley were actually maintained, between the prices of 6 and 7, and so they are still within the average prices. Not something really surprising for this particular stock here on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, looking at the other indices that performed on the market, ABSA Bank of Kenya, ABSA came out with an 11.7%. Going up by 11.7, and then he came out with about a price of 4,600 and the volume that was traded there. Then we also had Bamburi Cement. Bamburi Cement came out at 35.5 Kenyan cents and traded a volume of 4,300 shares on the market yesterday. And then looking at BK Group also came out with the 29 Kenyan shillings price yesterday, and he didn't actually have any trading on the market as per yesterday's trading. Then Britam Holdings at 6 Kenyan shillings came out with a volume that was about 1,100 shares. And East African Cables Limited at 3,300 shares that were traded came out with a 1.05 Kenyan shillings. And then Kaba Seed Investments at 11.05 Kenyan shillings did not trade any volumes yesterday. Then Car and General Kenya Limited at 44.85 Kenyan cents did not trade any volumes as well. And looking at CIC Insurance Group here, he also didn't. He traded 1,300 shares and came out with a 2.1 Kenyan shillings price as well on the markets yesterday. And then when we move down to what we can call the summary of the thing, looking at the all share index, as we can see here at the end of the trading yesterday, the benchmark index, the Nairobi Stock Share Index, increased by 1.34 points. That is a 1% increase to a point to close at 135.39 points, representing a 1-week gain of 8.36%, and a 4-week gain as well of 4.23%, but an overall year-to-date loss of 18.67%. So when we look at the daily performance, the index is gaining. It gained yesterday. And when we look at a 1-week performance, it also gained there by the 1-week gain. But when we look at the year-to-date, there was a loss of still of 18.67%. To be dealt with. And the other remarkable indices that performed were the Nairobi Stock Exchange 20 and also the Nairobi Stock Exchange 25 index. The index here of the Nairobi Stock Exchange, that is the all share index, it is currently at 135 points, as you can see on the graph there on the other end, at 135 points. But when you look at the beginning of the year and also before 2022, that is in 2021, November and December, the index was above 150 points. In fact, in September 1, we are seeing the index almost above 175 points. But it started going down slightly at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, and then I kind of picking, but still failed to maintain the track. And you still see a little downward movement in terms of points. And then in May 2022, we are seeing a very sharp decline in points from May 2022. Actually, before May 2022, we see that the stock, the all share index went down further by, you see this slump here, down to prices below even 125 points. And then we are seeing it leveled off at 125 and later went below 125 earlier this month of July. And then we are seeing it picking up to almost 127. And we are seeing that, of course, according to the trading of yesterday. That was the Nairobi Stock Exchange All Share Index. The last weekday of trading yesterday, the Nairobi Stock Exchange had a total of 8.658 million shares that were traded in 1,107 deals, corresponding market value of 378 million, 378,333,800. This total market value that was traded yesterday, meaning they traded shares worth 378 million. And compared to the previous day of the Nairobi Stock Exchange trading, that was the data shows about 51% decline in volume and 45% decline in turnover. And the capitalization of the Nairobi Stock Exchange is about 2.11 trillion Kenyan shillings. Aggregate, only 48 out of the 65 listed equities participated in trading, and they with 22 gainers and 19 losers. Express Kenya led the gain with 9.76% appreciation, closing at 3.6 Kenyan share, and he was followed by the Nairobi Securities Exchange at 9.68%. Then we had Sasini Tea and Coffee at 8.5%, and then Home Africa at 7.89%. However, we had the Nairobi Business Ventures, who came out last at the end of day, appreciation of 8.82%, 3.14 Kenyan shillings per share, followed by Stanley Fahari at 7.14% decline. And then Longhorn Publishers, who came out also at 6.99% decline. And then General Kenya as well, who came out with a 6.56% decline. Safaricom recorded the volume of 4.9 millions. That was the shares that were traded yesterday on Safaricom. He was followed by Equity Group Holdings, who came out with 923,500 shares. The Cooperative Bank of Kenya at 432,100 shares. And Kakuzi, who came out at 428,100 shares. And that was, of course, bringing it to the Nairobi Stock Exchange performance there on the market. Now let's look into the Nigerian market as well. Just look at other exchanges around Africa, how performed yesterday. Nigerian Stock Exchange, if you can remember, is the leading integrated market infrastructure in Africa, servicing the continent's largest economy, that is Nigeria. And the exchange provides capital access to various companies seeking to take advantage of markets, to fund their businesses, and also be able to raise capital. Likewise, the Nigerian Stock Exchange provides its pool of course, its pool of domestic and regional as well as international investors with an array of regulated services so that they can be able to grow their savings. In March 2021, the erstwhile Nigerian Stock Exchange was demutualized from a member-owned and not-for-profit entity into a shareholder-owned profit-making entity at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And the Nigerian Stock Exchange publishes their benchmark index, a value-weighted all-share index that is formulated in 1984, January, with the best value of 100 points. The all-share index tracks the general market's movements of all equities on the exchange, including those listed on the growth board, regardless of capitalization. And additional the NGX 30 and the NGX 50 that, of course, provide liquidity. And both indices, the NGX 50, in which only, of course, common shares are admitted, are weighted by the adjusted market capitalization and the number of companies listed shares by the closing price, and the capping factor gives you the value. Now, the index yesterday for the all-share index for stock exchange went down by 6.32 points. That's 0.01%. And we are seeing that we had a couple of gainers on the market. We had about 13 gainers and 12 losers on the Nigerian market. And in aggregate, about 101 companies participated trading just yesterday. And we are seeing that at the end of the weekday trading day, the Nigerian Stock Exchange had a total of 15 million shares that were traded in over 3,400 deals cut, corresponding to the market value of about 1.7 billion Nigerian naira that were traded. Compared with the previous day of trading, Thursday, the data shows a 20% decline in volume, a 1% improvement in turnover, and a decline in the deals that were made. And the current market capitalization of the exchange in Nigeria is 27.8 trillion naira. That is on the Nigerian nairas. Looking at the top gainers here, the top gainers were led Caverton Offshore Support Group, who led the gainers with a 9.91% appreciation, closing at 1.22 Nigerian naira per share, followed by Academy Press at 9.88% gaining, and then Namath International Pharma at 9.4%, while Courtville Business Solutions 6.52%. And on the losing side, we had Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, who came out last with the end of day price depreciation of 7.31% at 8.62 Nigerian nairas. He was followed by Cornerstone Insurance Company at 5.48% loss, and Consolidated Hallmark Insurance at 4%, and Japol Gold Ventures at 3.5% drop. And then Guarantee Trust Holding also recorded the highest volume at 17.9 million shares that were traded. He was followed by United Bank of Africa at 14.3 million, while Zen Bank at 8.36 million followed, and Sterling Bank at 7.51 million followed suit as well. Regarding the performance of the benchmark index, the all-share index for the Nigerian Stock Exchange came out with a gain of a loss of 6.32 points, and that represents a 1% daily loss, to close at 51,557 points, representing a one-week loss of 0.53%, a four-week loss of 3.03%, but an overall year-to-date gain of 20.7%. Other remarkable indices that performed were the NGX 50 and the NGX 30 as well. That was the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Mark you, according to the rankings recently, it was one of the leading, if not the leading stock exchange in terms of market value and capitalization, the market value for the Nigerian market there. And also in terms of, the liquidity, it's one of also the leading the leading exchanges there in Africa. That's why we need, but we cannot also avoid looking at the Johannesburg Exchange, how yesterday went for them as well. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange is the principal stock exchange for South Africa, and of course located in Sandton, Johannesburg, South Africa. Founded in 1887, it's the oldest exchange, and during the first South African gold rush, the Johannesburg today stock exchange is today one of the leading exchanges in Africa. Market value by a number of listed equities and the products. It demutualized in 2005 and got listed on its own exchange as a separate non-for-profit entity, and right now is one of the trading stocks or equities on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. In 2002, it implemented the FTSE Partnership Africa Index Series, which is of course a joint venture between the FTSE Group and the GSE to replace the erstwhile stock exchange actuaries indices. The series brought with it calculating methodology for calculating indices, which complies with IOSCO standards. And looking at the performance of their benchmark index, the J2 3. They're down by 3 to 6.65 points, but is about 0.49% loss to about those points there. And it has been going down recently for a number of reasons. Now, there are over 130 listed equities over that are listed, and then we have a total of over 426 listings on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And at the end of the first weekday of trading on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, there was a total of over 203,600, actually 203 million shares that were traded in about 199,000 that were made yesterday, corresponding to a market value of over 14 billion rand that were traded. Compared with the previous day, that was on Friday, there was a decline of 28% and a decline of 44% in turnover. That was down to 1% decline in deals that were made. And the market capitalization of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is about 19.9 trillion rand. In the aggregate, 320 Johannesburg Stock Exchange listed keys participated in the trading yesterday, ending with 117 gainers and about 175 losers. Crometco led the gainers with a 3.33% share appreciation, closing at 0.08 rand per share. Then CX sells holdings at 24.9% gain, VG at 17.14% gain, and Tongaat Halet at 15.38%. On the losing side, however, we had Lux Holdings, who came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 24.53% at rands per share that were traded yesterday. And then we had the Kibo Energy at cent. We had the S&P African Sovereign Bond ETF at 13.53% drop yesterday. Fields Group at negative 8.54% loss. And then we had the PPC record the highest volume of 22.7 million shares that were followed by, of course, the redefined property shares of 13.1 million shares that were traded, and Fairvest Limited shares that were traded of about 8.99 million, while Old Mutual came out with 7.58 million that was traded. Regarding the performance of the index, as we already mentioned, the 3 went down by 1,100.65 points to close at 67,226. That's basically the performance of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Remember, you can invest across board, definitely with the help of some brokers, and using mainly the bank accounts. You can be able to transact and buy shares across borders without limits, because now we are not limited, given the fact that technologically we are advancing in the financial markets here in Africa, and definitely some shareholders will be able to get you in touch with several exchanges here and there. The bottom line is you have to save some money and invest wisely, and definitely you will be able to get some returns on that investment later. Remember, here we have looked at the stock markets and the equities, but there are also the other products on the market, like derivatives, that require a little more experience for one to actually invest. But then we also have the simple and safe investments, like in the fixed incomes, that is the treasury bonds and bills that are auctioned every 2 weeks here. And you can also take advantage of those. And the bond definitely goes for as low as 100,000, a unit. You can go for 100,000, 200,000, and so on. And you can be able to purchase bonds and use them to grow that income, because they have quite an attractive interest at the moment. I can tell you. That's why many people are liquidating from the equity market, going into the fixed income because of the very attractive interest rates that they are returning. We're going into a short break. We return with the topics that have made headlines in the financial markets.